Hey everybody, I'm Stelios and on Eurus, and this is...
I'm Lilah Oksana Rune.
And we decided we're going to talk to y'all about a little something, something. And the first thing I want to do is I want to acknowledge the fact that the Facebook group, the SCA Dream Makers, I appreciate what they're trying to do. This is a group of people who decided to come together in the wake of controversy to try to make the SCA more inclusive as a whole. That means inclusive to people of color, inclusive to the LGBT community. Basically, trying to bring everybody into this fold to make sure that everybody feels acknowledged, that everybody feels wanted, and most of all, that everybody feels safe.
That's a pretty good goal. I can appreciate that kind of mission.
Yeah, and one of the hot topics in this group is where are all the POCs?
Well, ain't you black?
I, I am a majestic shade of mahogany. Yeah, I'm black. If y'all don't know.
On a side note, I would love to go to Home Depot at some point and try and find your true color. You are some mahogany chocolate indulgence color.
Chocolate indulgence.
We'll figure it out and make
That's
a video.
That's what I am now, chocolate indulgence.
We'll make a video about it.
Anyway, and we want to talk about some of the reasons you might not see a lot of people of color in the SCA.
Because you don't.
You just don't.
And like up here in Ontario, where it is primarily white communities in general, that's not so weird. But there's SCA everywhere.
Yeah.
So how come in places like, I don't know, Georgia, Texas, Louisiana, Florida, is it still the same ratio? I mean, as far as people who actually play in the SCA?
Like, I've got a friends list on Facebook that expands across many different kingdoms. And the fact of the matter is, there just really ain't a lot of people of color involved in the SCA. And a lot of people want to know why.
So why do you think?
I think it has to do with the history of the SCA. It started in Berkeley, California, started as a backyard party. It was a group that was founded by a group of white people, and they decided to emulate an ancient European culture. And this isn't the kind of stuff that particularly black people as a whole gravitate toward. They look at that and they say, no, that don't look like it would be very, very welcoming. I think they'd be wrong, because when I stepped in, people were very, very nice to me. But, just from the way it looks, you don't see a lot of black people doing this. You don't see a lot of non-white people doing this kind of stuff. So, it unintentionally sends a message that, this is a very, very white hobby.
Yeah, well.
I don't think that's intentional. It's just, it is what it is. I think one of the things that can be done to combat that, though, would be in your advertising campaigns, try to mix it up a little bit, show some of everybody.
Well, one of the things that I've noticed is that there is that focus on the Eurocentrism as far as quote-unquote appropriate personas. Like, when I was first developing and trying to develop SCA stuff, when I joined, 10, 12 years ago? Pretty much everybody I talked to tried to get me to either go Norse Viking or, like, late period floofy pants. Like Italian and stuff.
You ain't gonna get me in no damn pumpkin pants.
Neither of which I am interested in, and continued to express that, yet every year someone tries to put me in floofy dresses, which is sad to me.
I think you'd look good in those dresses, but
you'd never find me in all them damn ruffles.
The thing is, if that ain't what you want to do, it ain't what you want to do.
It's not what I want to do.
And I think the focus on the Eurocentric is another factor that kind of turns people off to the SCA, especially if they come from a culture that isn't Eurocentric.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, even the way the heraldry is set up, incredibly Eurocentric. It's all done on heater shields. But that's besides the point. I think the Eurocentrism of the hobby is kind of what pushes people of color away. Also, economics. Now, this doesn't just affect people of color, but it is one of the issues that is a sweeping factor with people of color. Now, you got white people that are in the poorhouse too. Let's be real. But the SCA as a hobby is expensive.
Yeah.
There's no getting around that. It's expensive. And a lot of people aren't aren't going to be willing to make the investment to get involved in this hobby, when they learn how expensive it is. Now, there's no real way to combat that, because if you're a heavy fighter, armor's expensive.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't skimp on some of that stuff. Like,
No, you cannot.
the helmets are usually the most important part of the kit and the most expensive.
Yes, your helmet will always be your most expensive piece of equipment, and a lot of the time you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't really consider that factor when they get involved, and then when they find out how expensive it is, they leave, because a lot of people ain't got the money to throw out with that. I mean, shit. How many helmets do I have?
Heavy helmets?
Yeah.
2, 3.
I've got three now. And if I tallied up the total amount of money that I've spent on just helmets, if I tallied up everything, I've easily spent about $4,000 on headgear.
Yeah, well, you also like really pretty stuff.
You're
You're not gonna go stomping out there in a beat up loner sugarloaf.
I have to be beautiful. I am, and I'm actually considering getting another one, but I got to find somebody to commission it.
What?
I mean, I was gonna tell you after I got it. Do what I want. Anyway, um, yeah, the whole economic thing that's another barrier, but there's really no way around that.
No, it just is what it is.
And probably the biggest thing that, if people of marginalized communities come into this organization that causes them to leave, is, God, I hate this word so much, but it's the only word that fits.
Uh-oh.
Microaggressions.
Yeah, but it's still a thing.
It is still a thing.
And the thing that I want to chip in real quick here is a lot of microaggressions and a lot of racism in general is accidental and ignorant. It's not done maliciously, and when you jump on people and go for the throat when they do it, you're shutting down the learning opportunity. You're shutting down the sharing and the communication, because no one's going to want to learn when they have to snap themselves into defense mode to keep them from being portrayed as the mustache twirling villain strapping somebody to the railroad tracks. I mean, come on.
That's true. Particularly in this community, because this community is small.
Yes.
Word travels fast, and if it gets out that, oh, such and such is a racist, blah blah blah.
Like, it's a big scarlet letter.
Yeah, it's bad. It's terrible. But the whole thing with microaggressions is they're mostly rooted in ignorance. But I think that the way to combat that would be to do, like she said, and take those moments to teach. Take those moments not to persecute, but to teach these people.
Yeah, well, as a culture, we're kind of addicted to Schadenfreude, so that's going to be a hard habit to break.
That's true. But, people on both sides of the conversation should not only be willing to talk, but willing to listen. It can't just be this one-sided conversation where, I'm going to do all this talking and tell you what you're doing wrong, and you don't get to say anything. I think the exchange of information is what helps people come to a commonality.
Yeah, that's true. Um, so, I mean, have you ever felt like you were, I don't want to say victim, but have you ever felt like something happened to you in that vein? Was someone accidentally racist to you? Accidentally racist? Yeah, it's a thing. I mean, other than the drunk chick from the Biffy saying you look like Denzel Washington, I think that was not racist. I think that was hopeful. But that's probably for a different video, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I've had my fair share, but I grew up in the deep south, so I'm used to my racism being spicy and open.
Well, that don't make it right.
No, it don't make it right, but when somebody hits me with a microaggression, God, I hate that word, but it's the only one I can think of. But when somebody hits me with a microaggression, I kind of just let it roll off my back, and not everybody can do that, and I don't expect everybody to be able to do that, and you shouldn't have to. But I think that it does need to be talked about, when that kind of thing happens. But we got to avoid this whole let's call people out thing that we're doing now, because that's not cool. It's not helping anybody, and all it's doing is cutting it's cutting dividing lines in the community. I think when we get on these pedestals and we start, standing on our proverbial soapbox and talking about how what we think is right, our thoughts, our feelings, all that stuff, we forget that the person that we're talking to or talking about is a human being.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the first way to win a war is to dehumanize your enemy.
Well, yeah, that's what they taught us. You dehumanize the enemy, and people are so focused on winning that I feel like they forget that the objective really should be to teach and bring about change.
It should be about communicating in general, I think, because, like I said, so much is in ignorance. But people are so quick to go for the throat on this, and I honestly, truly, I think it's kind of a sense of satisfaction. Like, I'm the better, more woke, sensitive person if I can see the shit you're doing wrong and point my little finger at you about it.
Yeah,
That means that I'm better at this than you.
and you know what that is to me?
Ego?
It's insincere.
Ooh.
It's insincere.
Ooh, yeah.
Because you're not doing it because you give a shit. You're doing it because you want to win.
Yeah.
So it's insincere to me. And the thing is, when they do this, when they go on these tirades, they completely neglect to acknowledge the humanity of this other person. They neglect to acknowledge that this person may have made a mistake. It may have been a grievous mistake, but it is still a mistake.
Well, that's kind of a hard pill to swallow to, go at it from that angle. But the best way to get someone to change their opinion about something is to interact with them about it like a person instead of, jumping on them and jumping down their throat. Because then they're in defense mode.
And I think this is important to do this specifically in this community, because I don't want anybody to to be disposed of. I would like everybody to stay around. I want them to be there, and I want them to be involved. I just I'm trying to think of how to word this. I don't want to throw away potential friends.
I don't think you should have to.
And you shouldn't have to. I don't want, not even just potential friends, but friends in general. I don't want to throw my friends away because they made a mistake. I think it'd be a better thing to actually correct them, not by doing a call out, but by doing a call in. Like, tap them on the shoulder, say, let me talk to you about a little something, something.
Have a conversation instead of a screaming match. And for God's sake, stop posting on the forums the same stuff over and over. Them horses are dead, folks.
They,
Instead of piling on another dozen comments onto something, just chasing each other's tails, have a real face-to-face, heart-to-heart with someone about it, man. That's how you connect.
I just feel like the hostility is unacceptable. I mean, I get it. Folks are angry. Folks are sensitive, but we have to understand that in this community, we're supposed to be friends. We say that we're family all the time, and yes, family does fight, but in the end, you are family, and you have to acknowledge that and acknowledge the humanity of this person and cease the hostility. You can still have a opposing viewpoint without being hostile.
Yeah.
And I think if both sides are sitting at the table and talking about this, as opposed to exchanging fire with arrows and cannons and all that stuff, I think you could get a lot more done.
Yeah, it's true.
But at this point, that's all I got. You got anything you want to say?
No, not really.
All right, cool. So this is Stelios and Lilah, and we're done.
Talk to you later.